I wanted to approach this song from a kind of a minimal perspective, and I only used four instruments to create the piece, and so I think that's why there's very limited tracks. And I wanted to do that in order to, um, I think sometimes I need limitations, otherwise my creativity can't flourish. I'll give you an example. Like if I pull up one of my production programs and it's got thousands, maybe at this point hundreds of thousands of sounds on it, and I have to choose where I'm going to start, as opposed to if I pulled up, only four instruments and then I had to start a song. I would make choices a lot faster with only four instruments and limited options. And so that's something that helps me work creatively. That's not true of everyone, but that's something I learned, through taking classes like master classes in sound art and stuff, where we would really limit our creativity to then see how it would bloom within that. I realized that I'm the type of creator that needs less options and less tools in order to streamline my process. And so this song is just, I think, an example of that, an extreme example of that, being that I only used four instruments to create the song Sacred Number. Another thing I did with the song was I really slowed it up. And that was just something that happened naturally and organically. I've always loved when artists have cover a song and they'll completely reimagine it. Give it a whole new feel, a whole new perspective, and it allows you to look at that song and those lyrics from maybe a different perspective, a different lens. And so naturally, I guess I ended up doing that as I came up with my first cover, because those are the sorts of covers I gravitate towards. And like I said, I wanted to really kind of set a toned down music bed that was still very present and powerful, but wasn't in your face, in order for the flute to really be in your face and really shine and sit on top. And these are just things I do as an Lakota producer and engineer. And I want to talk a bit about how I'm this track is an example of how I'm also trying to, reclaim the flute, reclaim native flute, because I feel like it's been really distorted and appropriated by New Agers and settlers and white people who took it. And the flute's universal. I've been around the world. I've seen flutes on every continent, and I know, our flute is born out of the same tradition. But now, if you search native flute music, all you're gonna hear is the same New Age stereotypical. They put nature sounds with it. They drowned it in reverb and delay to make it sound like it's in some giant canyon. And that's all people come to know about flute music, even our own people. And a lot of people don't even try to break out of that creatively in how they engineer or, record flute music. And a lot of times it's recorded by white people, so they're not even thinking about anything different. They're not thinking about these instruments as creative tools, to push art and music forward. So I went to record it. I had the bass, I had the flute, and I knew I wanted a percussion drum element, and I tried to make a beat for it. I used drum machines, and I ended up settling on actually just a straight up, just Lakota drum. I have a drum. My mom got it for me when I was in 5th grade. I use it a lot in my recordings. All of my drums, as you see, are layered. In every single one of my songs, I love to layer my drums. I love programming drums. I love mixing and layering drums, producing drums. I love drums. And the song also, started with the drums. So I just decided to just lay a really basic, just steady, almost like a heartbeat, And that's something that my people believe, is that, that drum's like your heartbeat. It's like the heartbeat of the earth too. And so I put that there. It's got a few layers going on. It's got the top end here, which is, kind of like a room mic. I did a couple takes, and then the bottom layer here, which is kind of the bottom, And so those together created this. And I wanted it to sound kind of like the drums were there, but they also were surrounding you. And I did that with the stereo spread of these two right here. So I took those and spread them out left and right, so it'll kind of sound like you're being surrounded by them. And I did that as a native engineer because, just following my experience of what hearing this drum in actual physical space does to me and what it feels like. And whether it's like you're at a powwow or you're in a ceremony house, once they're jamming on that drum, it sounds like it's within you and all around you. And I know the native people who had that experience know what I'm talking about. So that's like the foundation of the drums. And then in the chorus, I just added a rattle there. So we'll come back to that. It goes a little something like this. It's got the rattle in there. And the rattle too, so this rattle, a few reasons I added this rattle right here. If you hear it, it brings a lot of energy to the chorus, And also, I added this rattle because it reminds me of like rain, And right here in the chorus, they say thunder only happens when it's raining. And so it's doing a few purposes, it's adding percussion, it's adding energy, but I'm also hoping to invoke, the feeling of storms and rain. Because this song is like a storm to me, and the emotions I put into this are like a storm, and sometimes our dreams come to us like storms, sometimes violent storms, and I just wanted to capture all that energy here in this song. And another thing I did creatively with as a producer, I do this often if you really pay attention to my productions and my music, is they kind of exist in like a circular fashion where the beginning will be the same as the end will be the beginning, and that's just something I just naturally started doing, but it's a very indigenous thing I found, and how I approach my songwriting, my production. So the little the intro here with the bass is the same thing that happens here in the end, and I'm playing like the same thing, like the flute flutters, and it's almost just like going into, it's like here you're kind of, it's like you're descending, going down into the dream, it's like taking you deeper into the dream, almost like going to sleep. And then here's like coming out of the dream, maybe like waking up, and oftentimes like you wake up, it's like boom, and then you're awake. So that's kind of, a session breakdown and all the layers of intention behind what I put into the production side of it. And then, I see here I mixed everything, EQs and all that, but I think that'll be for another journey. And then I also mastered it too. So, what you normally pay several people to do jobs, I did them all myself, again, because I never had the money to pay everyone, and I love the process. I love doing it. So I'm excited to be able to share this process with you all. Thank you all for tuning in and watching and listening. You can catch this song on any streaming service: Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, any Amazon Music, anywhere you listen to music, it's streaming. Thank you to everybody who's been sharing it and listening. It's actually quickly become one of my most streamed songs that I have. It's it's doing better than some of my most popular songs that I've had out for a while. So I encourage you all to check it out. My flute and bass cover of Fleetwood Mac's Dreams in the key of Lakota. Thank you all. Peace.